You wake up at 3 a.m. and you notice something is missing. The morning stiffness, that reliable mechanical constant you took for granted every single day of your youth, is gone. Or maybe it is just a weak, inconsistent shadow of what it used to be. You try to brush it off. You blame it on stress from work. You tell yourself you are just tired, or that age is finally catching up with you. But deep down in your chest, you feel a cold spike of worry every time you go to bed. I am Dr. David Chen, and today I need you to listen to me very carefully, without the usual commercial filters or the rush of a standard clinical consultation. What is happening behind this change in your body is not a simple natural consequence of aging that you just have to accept. It is not a mental failure. It is a physical warning, a silent mechanical distress signal that your entire vascular network is sending directly to you. Here is what really matters. Most men believe that erectile dysfunction or losing your morning wood is a purely sexual, psychological, or hormonal issue. They are wrong, completely wrong. In medical reality, your vascular response is the most sensitive, accurate, and earliest indicator of your entire cardiovascular health. Let me make this simple. The micro-arteries that supply blood to your pelvic tissue, known as the Helicene arteries, are incredibly small, between 1 and 2 millimeters in diameter. To put that into clear perspective, the coronary arteries that supply blood to your heart muscle are about 3 to 4 millimeters wide. The carotid arteries in your neck that feed your brain are between 5 and 6 millimeters. Do the math with me. If you have a systemic process of plaque buildup or loss of arterial elasticity throughout your body, where will the bottleneck show up first? In the smallest pipes, immediately. This means a loss of firmness is actually the first warning sign that your pelvic circulation is struggling against an obstruction. And cardiovascular science has proven this beyond doubt. Vascular-related pelvic weakness typically precedes a major cardiac event, like a heart attack or a stroke, by 3 to 5 years. Your body gives you the warning. The real problem is that almost no one is listening. Wait, let me tell you about Carlos. Carlos was 52 when he came to my clinic. He was active, ran his own business, and felt perfectly healthy. But over the previous 2 years, he noticed his morning wood had vanished, and his strength during intimacy was slowly declining. He did what most men do out of embarrassment. He ignored it. Then, he started buying temporary blue pills online to mask the symptom and keep going. It worked for a while, but those pills do not clean your pipes. They only force temporary chemical dilation in arteries that are getting stiffer, narrower, and more inflamed every single day. While Carlos masked the problem in the bedroom, the silent blockages kept advancing into his larger coronary arteries. Eventually, he started feeling a strange fatigue when walking upstairs. A slight shortness of breath he brushed off as just being out of shape, until one afternoon, a sudden, crushing pain hit his chest. He ended up in the emergency room, undergoing surgery to place 2 metal stents in coronary arteries that were 90% blocked. As we spoke in his recovery room, he looked at me and said, "Doctor, my morning wood stopped completely 3 years before my heart attack. If I had known my body was warning me, I would have changed my life right then." This exact scenario happens to thousands of men every single day. And honestly, most people ignore this fundamental anatomical connection. Before we go into the exact biological mechanism of how this happens and how to reverse it, take a second to subscribe to the channel. My goal here is to give you honest clinical knowledge that you will not hear in standard medical advertisements, helping you protect both your vital function and your life. Hit the subscribe button now, because understanding these early warning signs is the absolute best preventative tool you have. Now let's look at the mechanical cause. How do these tiny micro-arteries start to clog and lose their elasticity? It all begins in the inner lining of your blood vessels, a microscopic single-cell layer called the endothelium. The endothelium is not just a passive barrier. It is actually the largest endocrine organ in your body, and its main job is to produce a critical gas called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the chemical messenger that tells the smooth muscle cells surrounding your arteries, relax, widen, and let the blood flow. If your endothelium is damaged by systemic inflammation, it stops producing nitric oxide. The result? Your blood vessels remain stiff, narrow, and unable to dilate when your brain sends the signal. And what is secretly destroying your endothelium on a daily basis? The answer might surprise you. It is not natural dietary fat or cholesterol. It is refined sugar, excess processed carbohydrates, and silent insulin resistance. Pay close attention to this. When you constantly consume high glycemic foods, you create frequent spikes of glucose in your bloodstream. This excess sugar binds to proteins and fats in a destructive process called glycation, forming compounds known as AGEs. These AGEs cause chronic inflammation along your endothelial walls, acting like tiny shards of glass, scratching the inside of your delicate blood vessels 24 hours a day. To heal these scratches, your body sends cholesterol and calcium to form a protective scab over the inflammation. Over the years, this protective scab hardens into arterial plaque, and your tiny 1 millimeter pelvic artery is the very first to get choked off by this buildup. Almost no general practitioner has the time to explain this biological cascade during a routine checkup. Let us look closer at the cellular level of this plaque development. When your endothelium is scratched and inflamed by sugar, it becomes porous. This allows low-density lipoprotein, or LDL cholesterol, to slip underneath the endothelial layer into the subendothelial space. Once inside, if your body is highly inflamed, this LDL is oxidized by free radicals, turning into oxidized LDL. Your immune system views this oxidized LDL as a foreign threat and sends macrophages to engulf it. These macrophages eat so much oxidized cholesterol that they become bloated and turn into what we call foam cells. These foam cells eventually die and form a fatty, calcified streak inside the arterial wall. Over time, this streak thickens, hardens, and narrows the diameter of the artery, restricting the flow of blood. In an artery that is only 1 millimeter wide, it takes very little plaque to completely cut off the blood supply. But sugar is not the only culprit. Industrial seed oils like soybean, canola, corn, and sunflower oil are loaded with linoleic acid, an unstable omega-6 fatty acid. When these oils are heated and consumed, they oxidize rapidly in your body, producing harmful byproducts called oxalams. These oxidized byproducts directly attack the endothelial membrane, rendering it rigid and dysfunctional. They also accelerate the oxidation of LDL cholesterol, fueling the growth of arterial plaque at an alarming rate. If you cook with these oils daily, you are constantly pouring fuel on the inflammatory fire inside your micro-arteries. Swapping them for stable fats like extra virgin olive oil or grass-fed butter is a critical, non-negotiable step. And the physical damage does not stop at the blockage itself. When oxygen-rich blood flow to the pelvic region is chronically restricted, the cavernous tissue begins to suffer from local hypoxia. Without enough oxygen, the smooth muscle cells inside the tissue begin to die off and are replaced by rigid, inelastic scar tissue. This process is called cavernous fibrosis. Once fibrosis sets in, it becomes extremely difficult to restore the natural elasticity of the tissue, even if you improve your circulation later. This is why you must act aggressively when you first notice a change in your morning stiffness. Do not wait for complete failure. Wait. Let's look deeper into the nervous system's connection to your vascular tissue. Before the physical widening of your arteries can even take place, a neural pathway must fire correctly. Your nervous system initiates vascular relaxation through non-adrenergic, non-cholinergic (NANC) nerve fibers. These specialized fibers release neurotransmitters like acetylcholine and gaseous nitric oxide directly into the tissues. However, if your autonomic nervous system is stuck in a state of high alert, what we call sympathetic dominance, the signal is blocked before it even reaches your blood vessels. The stress chemicals, adrenaline and noradrenaline, force the smooth muscles surrounding your pelvic arteries to contract tightly. This sympathetic dominance overrides any local signals for blood vessel expansion. This is why chronic mental stress, performance anxiety, or unresolved fatigue act as a physical clamp on your arterial network. And this neural block is heavily affected by your hormone balance. Chronic insulin resistance signals your liver to produce less of a protein called SHBG. When SHBG drops, it alters your hormone conversion rates, and the Leydig cells in your testicles produce less testosterone due to systemic inflammation. This is a double attack on your masculinity. You lose the hormonal signal that triggers nighttime erectile cycles, and you lose the physical capacity of your blood vessels to respond to that signal due to arterial plaque. Let's break down the exact biochemical pathway of the vascular response so you understand why so many standard solutions fail. When the NANC nerve fibers and endothelial cells release nitric oxide, it diffuses into the adjacent smooth muscle cells. Once inside, nitric oxide activates an enzyme called soluble guanylyl cyclase. This enzyme converts a molecule called GTP into cyclic GMP, or cGMP. cGMP is the actual messenger that tells the cell to pump calcium out, allowing the muscle fibers to relax and open up the floodgates for blood flow. However, your body also produces an enzyme called PDE5, which exists to degrade cGMP and end the vascular relaxation. Temporary pills work by blocking the PDE5 enzyme, allowing cGMP to linger longer. But here is the catch. If your endothelium is so damaged that it produces almost no nitric oxide to begin with, you cannot create cGMP in the first place. This is why, as vascular disease progresses, temporary pills stop working entirely. The problem isn't the blocker. The problem is that your body has lost the capacity to generate the signal. So, how do we reverse this process naturally and mechanically to clean your arteries and restore your endothelial health? There is a clear clinical path, and it does not involve lifelong reliance on temporary pills that carry cardiovascular risks. Everything comes down to restoring your endothelium's ability to produce nitric oxide and removing the inflammatory factors that cause plaque buildup. At this point, we are about halfway through our protocol. If you are finding this clinical explanation valuable, take a moment to subscribe. We are building a community of men dedicated to scientific self-care and longevity, and your support helps me continue bringing these deep physiological analyses to light. Let's get straight back to the action. The first practical step to clean your arteries is mechanical blood flow stimulation. In cardiology, we know that when blood flows quickly through your vessels, it exerts a physical friction force against the endothelial cells, known as shear stress. This physical shear stress activates an enzyme called eNOS, endothelial nitric oxide synthase. This enzyme takes L-arginine from your blood and converts it into nitric oxide, forcing your blood vessels to dilate and naturally sweep away inflammatory markers. How do you generate this beneficial shear stress in your daily routine? Through short, explosive bursts of exercise, also known as high-intensity interval training. Sprinting on a treadmill for 30 seconds or doing rapid bodyweight squats for 1 minute creates rapid surges of blood pressure and flow that physically wash your pelvic and coronary arteries, restoring endothelial flexibility. Just 15 minutes of this specific stimulus, 3 times a week, is enough to start regenerating your vascular responsiveness in less than a month. And we must couple this mechanical exercise with specific micronutrient support. For example, clinical studies have highlighted the synergy between the amino acid L-arginine and pycnogenol, a natural extract from maritime pine bark. Pycnogenol works as a potent stimulator of the eNOS enzyme itself. While L-arginine provides the building block, pycnogenol acts as the spark that ignites the enzyme's activity. Double-blind clinical trials showed that combining L-arginine with pycnogenol restored normal circulatory performance and erectile response in over 90% of men over a 3-month period. This combination physically helps the endothelium rebuild its capacity to relax vessels, providing a long-term improvement rather than a temporary chemical patch. And there is another vital organ involved in this chemical process: your kidneys. When you consume L-citrulline, it travels through your bloodstream to your kidneys. There, your kidneys convert the citrulline into L-arginine, which is then used by your blood vessels. However, if you suffer from silent microrenal hypertension, a common outcome of eating processed foods, your kidney blood flow is restricted. This damages the kidney's ability to synthesize L-arginine, lowering the amount available for your endothelium. Supporting your renal health by reducing sodium overload and staying properly hydrated is essential to keep the nitric oxide pipeline flowing. Furthermore, we must distinguish between active and passive vasodilation. Active vasodilation happens when you exercise, driving blood flow via physical muscle activity and shear stress. Passive vasodilation occurs when you expose your body to external heat, such as in a sauna or a hot bath. This heat exposure increases your body temperature, triggering the release of heat shock proteins, HSPs. These HSPs protect your endothelial cells from damage and stress, and the body naturally dilates blood vessels to shed heat, providing a gentle vascular workout without physical exertion. Combining passive vasodilation twice a week with your active exercise sessions is an excellent way to maintain blood vessel elasticity. Now let's talk about blood viscosity, which gets particularly dangerous in the early morning hours. During the night, while you sleep, you lose up to 1 liter of water just through breathing and sweating. If you go to bed dehydrated, your blood becomes thick and highly viscous during the early morning hours. This thick, sluggish blood has a hard time flowing through tiny 1 millimeter pelvic vessels, preventing your tissues from receiving the necessary oxygenation during deep sleep. Furthermore, if you have elevated hematocrit, often seen in men undergoing testosterone replacement therapy or those with chronic sleep apnea, the blood is even thicker. This is why the majority of heart attacks, strokes, and the complete loss of morning wood occur in the early morning hours, when your blood is at its thickest and your blood pressure naturally spikes to wake you up. The solution is simple. Drink 300 milliliters of pure water 30 minutes before bed, and another 500 milliliters immediately upon waking up to thin your blood and protect your heart. In addition to hydration, you must address a critical micronutrient combination that prevents and helps reverse arterial calcification: vitamin D3 and vitamin K2. When you lack vitamin K2, the calcium in your blood has no direction and deposits itself directly onto your arterial walls, hardening your coronary and pelvic vessels. Vitamin K2 acts as a cellular guide. It activates osteocalcin and matrix GLA protein, MGP, which physically pull calcium out of your arteries and deposit it where it belongs, in your bones and teeth. Without K2, taking calcium or vitamin D3 can actually accelerate the calcification of your soft tissues, including the delicate blood vessels in your pelvic region. Supplementing with D3 and K2 together helps maintain arterial flexibility and prevents the calcification that leads to vascular impotence. To maximize the protective effects of nitric oxide, we should also look at dietary antioxidants. Specifically, polyphenols found in dark pomegranate juice and dark cocoa have been shown to protect nitric oxide from being broken down by free radicals. Pomegranate contains punicalagins, which are unique compounds that slow down the degradation of nitric oxide in the bloodstream, keeping your vessels dilated for longer periods. Consuming high-quality polyphenols daily acts as a shield for the nitric oxide your body produces, ensuring that the vascular relaxation signal remains active. To help you implement this immediately, here is your detailed 14-day vascular restoration plan. Monday, eNOS Activation Day. Morning, drink 500 milliliters of warm lemon water. Drink 100 milliliters of concentrated organic beetroot juice. Afternoon, eat 50 grams of pumpkin seeds, rich in zinc and magnesium, as a snack. Evening, perform 15 minutes of sprint intervals, 30 seconds of maximum effort, 60 seconds of rest. Night, drink 300 milliliters of water before bed. Turn off all screens 1 hour before sleep. Tuesday, polyphenol shield day. Morning, hydrate upon waking. Drink 50 milliliters of organic pomegranate juice with lunch. Afternoon, take 5,000 IU of vitamin D3 and 180 micrograms of vitamin K2 with a meal containing olive oil. Evening, enjoy 30 grams of 85% dark chocolate. Night, practice deep breathing for 5 minutes before bed to reduce sympathetic tone. Wednesday, shear stress day. Morning, hydrate upon waking. Drink 100 milliliters of beetroot juice. Evening, perform your second 15-minute high-intensity interval session, focusing on body weight squats and jumping jacks to drive blood to the lower body. Night, keep your bedroom at a cool 18 degrees Celsius. Thursday, Allison activation day. Morning, hydrate upon waking. Avoid all seed oils. Cook with butter or olive oil. Evening, eat 1 crushed raw garlic clove with dinner. Crush it 10 minutes before eating to activate Allison. Night, drink 300 milliliters of water 30 minutes before sleep. Friday, eNOS final session. Morning, hydrate upon waking. Drink 100 milliliters of beetroot juice. Evening, perform your final 15-minute interval session. Night, unplug completely. No blue light in the bedroom. Saturday, passive vasodilation day. Morning, hydrate upon waking. Spend 20 minutes in a hot bath or sauna. Afternoon, drink 50 milliliters of pomegranate juice. Evening, have a meal rich in wild-caught salmon, omega-3s. Sunday, system reset day. All day, fast from all sugars and processed foods. Stay hydrated. Night, sleep for at least 8 hours. Repeat this cycle for 14 days. Consistency is key. The cells lining your blood vessels take time to regenerate, and giving them the proper stimulus every single day is how you see long-term results. Honestly, if you follow this routine consistently for 30 days, the physical feedback from your body will be unmistakable. Your morning wood will begin to return, and your overall energy levels will rise. This is not a temporary fix. It works because you are cleaning the pipes, reducing insulin-driven inflammation, and restoring your body's natural healing mechanisms. But wait, now we must look at the final, most surprising cause of overnight vascular failure. It is a secret that almost no cardiologist or urologist talks about, and the solution costs less than $1. We have discussed diet, exercise, and hydration, but there is a silent habits trap that ruins your blood chemistry while you sleep. It is mouth breathing during the night. Let me explain the dark chemistry behind this. When you breathe through your mouth while sleeping, your airways collapse slightly, leading to micro-apneas and shallow breathing. This causes carbon dioxide to accumulate in your blood, shifting your blood pH into a state of temporary respiratory acidosis. At the same time, breathing through your mouth bypasses your nasal passages entirely. Your paranasal sinuses are the primary production site for nasal nitric oxide. When you breathe through your nose, you continuously inhale this nasal nitric oxide into your lungs, where it enters your systemic circulation to keep your arteries relaxed. If you breathe through your mouth, you completely shut down this natural nitric oxide source for 8 hours. Your blood becomes acidic, your adrenaline spikes to keep you breathing, and your systemic nitric oxide levels drop to near zero. Your micro-arteries contract tightly under the influence of adrenaline and acid. This is the hidden reason why many men eat perfectly, exercise daily, and still wake up without any morning stiffness. They are literally burning their endothelial lining with acidic, unoxygenated blood every single night. So, what is the $1 solution that changes everything? It is mouth taping. Using a small piece of medical-grade hypoallergenic tape to gently seal your lips before you go to sleep. This simple mechanical act forces your body to breathe exclusively through your nose. It keeps your airways open, prevents overnight oxygen drops, and floods your systemic circulation with nasal nitric oxide. It shifts your nervous system from fight or flight into parasympathetic recovery. Many of my patients report that their morning wood returns within the first 3 nights of mouth taping alone. It sounds bizarre, but the physiological chemistry is absolute. Combine mouth taping with sleeping on your side to keep your airways clear. This simple shift, combined with hydration and nitric oxide foods, is the ultimate key to reclaiming your vascular strength. Let's do the simple waist-to-height ratio test. Take a measuring tape and measure your waist at the level of your belly button. Divide your waist measurement by your height in centimeters. If the result is greater than 0.5, for example, if you are 180 centimeters tall and your waist is over 90 centimeters, you have excess inflammatory visceral fat. This deep belly fat acts like an active gland, releasing cytokines that directly attack your endothelium and block nitric oxide. Reducing this abdominal measurement must be your primary health goal. Every centimeter you lose from your waist is a direct victory for the elasticity of your pelvic blood vessels. The final truth I want to leave you with is that your endothelium is one of the most dynamic, rapidly regenerating tissues in the human body. The cells lining your arteries are constantly renewing themselves. If you stop damaging them with processed sugars, refined flours, and industrial seed oils, and start providing the mechanical shear stress and targeted nutrients they need, your vascular system will recover. Do not wait for a minor warning in the bedroom to become a major crisis in your chest like Carlos did. Your body is actively trying to save your life by giving you this early vascular warning. Listen to it. Start today with small, consistent steps. Cut the refined sugars. Add a glass of beetroot juice. Move with intensity for just 15 minutes. Tape your mouth at night. And treat your sleep with the respect it deserves. Because your vascular health, your intimacy, and your long-term survival depend on it. I hope this straightforward explanation has brought clarity to your situation. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so now to support this clinical educational channel. Take care of your vascular system, and I will see you in our next medical consultation. Randomization seed, hook 1, plus transition 1, plus informative block 1, plus closing 4, plus micro-narrative 2, plus rhythm signature 3.